time it breaks. Doesn't matter, weak or strong. Take your time and do your tricks. All I do is sing along. Yeah, I need you around for brighter light and firmer ground. When you believe in me, love is gonna set me free.
Welcome to Wout of the World, and in this episode you're joining me in Asia. We're in Sri Lanka, but we're also a bit in my home country, the Netherlands, because this used to be a Dutch settlement, Galle.
But let's do a little recap first. The city of Singapore blew our minds with modern architecture, historical sites, and many colorful cultures. It was also the gateway to our new adventure as we crossed the Indian Ocean to Sri Lanka, a new world waiting to be discovered. We started in Negombo and drove down south towards the best beaches. In cozy beach town Ahangama, we already got a taste of what Sri Lanka has to offer, hanging around our awesome villa and pool.
Today it's sunny and it's time to explore some of the neighborhood with some cultural sites, because close to Ahangama we'll find a city with some Dutch history. Let's go!
In 40 minutes we drive the south coast towards the west for the major site of South Sri Lanka. There is already lots to see on the way before we enter the historic gate to a fortified city.
Today we pay a visit to the town of Galle. And Galle is one of the biggest cities in South Sri Lanka, but it also used to be a very important colonial town in the history. It was a Dutch settlement on their trading route to the east between 1640 and 1796. So over here we can find a lot of old buildings from that time. And cannons. The biggest attraction in the town of Galle is of course the Galle Fort, with the big walls, and inside we can find all the beautiful old buildings. It was first built by the Portuguese in 1588 and later it was rebuilt by the Dutch in the 17th century. Nowadays it's all UNESCO World Heritage and it's the largest remaining fortress in all of Asia. So it's very special, and especially for me as a Dutchman.
Because the name was given by the Portuguese in 1505, the name Galle could have derived from gallo, meaning rooster. On the other hand, in Sinhalese, Gala means rock, and the British would later refer to the town as Galle.
You don't worry about your health, but you do fear being left alone. You may double your guards, but no one really knows about your house of cards, but the wind blows.
From the main fortress you can actually walk the entire wall around the old city of Galle. The popular walk is only about 3 kilometers and it takes you back to a time when Galle was the Dutch capital of Sri Lanka and a crucial hub for trading spices from Asia to Europe.
was always by your side. And it's time to set it straight.
With the drone we can see just how big and well preserved the old city is. The walls have 14 bastions facing seaward, providing strategic advantages against naval attacks.
I see on every floor. I see your home made out of straw while the wind blows.
The famous clock tower overlooks the central moon bastion, and from here we can walk into town to explore more historical sites.
A secret well kept, but everyone knows. You try to keep it so still, but the wind blows.
Located near the entrance of the old fortress is the Dutch Reformed Church, and we call this de Grote Kerk in Dutch. It was built in 1755, and with that it's one of the oldest churches in entire Sri Lanka, and it's also still in use. Also very interesting, inside they buried some former Dutch colonists from the East Indian Trading Company, and we can read their tombstones because it's all written in Dutch. Let's have a look inside.
Right beside me as I was doing the presentation, we spot this Bengal monitor lizard, busily digging for something. What a beauty!
I'm looking at the side where we all used to get high. It's easy to recall those nights. Trying to make up my mind. Should I move on or look back this time? I'm scared of the unknown.
In the church we check out the Dutch tombstones and sit down to breathe in the ancient history.
Thinking I will rise up someday when it all will make sense in my mind. But I'm lost. Still feel like a child who's got forever. But it's now or never. Ooh, I know it's so hard to find what I'm all about. I'm thinking of the places where I will never go. They belong to another goal. Yeah, but I can see all the faces in my mind. They start to show and tell me to keep.
On this hot day, we stop for some ice cream before we explore more of the Dutch little streets.
I don't know what it's hiding for us. I'm lost, thinking I will rise up.
The Dutch period in Sri Lanka developed architecture, infrastructure, legal systems and healthcare. And that's why today the Netherlands and Sri Lanka still have a good relationship, protecting the cultural heritage together.
But it's now or never. Ooh, I know it's so hard to find what I'm all about.
Galle was taken over by the British in 1796, and they built the beautiful lighthouse behind me in 1848. It's not a Dutch building, but it is beautiful, and in fact the oldest of all the lighthouses in Sri Lanka.
Started
Next to the lighthouse is one of the most iconic beaches in entire Sri Lanka, mostly used by the locals. In 1936, the 25-meter structure was destroyed by a fire, but it was restored in 1939, and it's still operating today.
We're chasing the sun tonight. We're chasing the easy life, easy life.
Right next to the most famous symbol of Galle, we also see the Ahangama Mosque, built in 1904.
Let's go and grab a drink at VOC Café, Verenigde Oost-Indische Compagnie Café. It's the name of the East Indian Trade Company of the Netherlands. Some history for the Dutch.
Walking back over the western wall, we complete our walk around the fort, with still many astonishing views on the way. After a church and a mosque, we can also add a Buddhist temple to the collection.
That's it for our little day trip in Galle. We saw the most beautiful buildings and we walked around the city walls. And now it's time to go back to the hotel because there's much more to explore in Sri Lanka and there's no time to waste.
Hit me like a ton of bricks. Doesn't matter weak or strong. Take your time and do your tricks. All I do is sing along.
We return to our villa in Ahangama and continue exploring Sri Lanka. Next up, famous beach town Mirissa.
Riding from the ground.
Be sure to subscribe and join us on a safari in Yala.
Love is gonna set me free.
And the best train ride in the world from Ella to Kandy. I'll see you there.